Girl right here. Are we live?
I think we're not yet live.
So we are live on YouTube. Bear with me one moment as I also let my Facebook friends, it's just a way for me to wait for you guys to kind of join on this call as well. On January 22nd, Coffee with Kristel. Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Coffee Talk with Kristel. So I'm trusting you're having a fantastic Thursday. I am live on YouTube, so please go ahead and join me or listen later. We will share the link for you to follow, like, and share also with your friends and family on the topic. And topic today is going to be about housing affordability, but not just about first-time buyers, actually. It's for those of you who already own a home. So jump on that call with me right now and or just listen later. Thank you. So we did this little announcement on the Facebook, and I know we're still live on YouTube. So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, welcome, and thank you so much for being in this space with me. As you can tell, Trump talks housing. So when Washington talks affordability, what it doesn't fix is what homeowners feel most. You probably saw the headlines this week, so many headlines about housing affordability and new policy ideas coming out of Davos. And the question I keep coming back to is this: how much of that actually matters to you if you already have solid equity in your home? A lot of homeowners who've purchased in the last 5, 6 years, I would say, yeah, 6 years, 2016 on, have gained so much equity in their home. And most people hear words like affordability, down payments, or investors' restrictions and immediately react. Some think it's great news, and some think it won't really change anything. And remember, headlines, talks are not necessarily changes. They are just conversations. We've talked about the 50-year amortization that is not in place yet. We've talked about in the past down payment assistance coming or grants that are given by the government. So many of them are headlines to get reaction out of us, but it's not necessarily like a change has been. So that's why it's good to come to this type of stations to hear what's happening and how does this impact you. But this is the part that matters if you already a homeowner. Policy talk, like I said, they do not unlock the equity. It doesn't suddenly create inventory or change your options overnight. It's interesting, but it usually doesn't move the needle on the next real decision. So what does this actually mean? The equity you've built is not just a number on paper. It's capital you've earned. And the real question isn't whether Washington might change rules someday. The real question is how to structure what you already have in a way that actually supports expansion without unnecessary risk. So some people start with optionality, like setting up a HELOC, a line of credit, so they can access what already exists without pressure to act. So you get a line of credit, and you can pay off some debt, or you just hold on to it, or you can invest in other real estate, or you can hold on, use some of it, invest. So there's so many ways. But for others, it's about reinvesting into income producing property where the deal stands on its own, which is where programs like a DSCR are strategies that come into play. And for many, it's simply understanding how equity could support growth, diversification, or flexibility without giving up safety. So the headlines might focus on first-time buyer tapping in 401ks or limiting large investors, but for most homeowners, the real friction isn't actually the policy, it's the liquidity and the confidence around the next move. So something I also want to point out, although you are a homeowner who has equity, and you think, yes, but the rates, well, guess what? You now have option from your equity to put a larger down payment than when you bought that first home and did maybe an FHA or conventional 3% to 3.5%. So your payment is still going to be a different structure than when you bought your first home. So we're moving a different mentality, different mindset. So here's a question worth sitting with. If your equity could be structured today to support where you want to go next, what would you want it to do for you? And this is not something that a headline can actually answer for you. That's a conversation. That is a conversation you and I can have. So if you want to explore what your equity position could realistically support next, let's sit together and talk about it. And I also want to invite you outside of just doing that one-on-one. On Tuesday, I'm actually going to be a guest speaker with a team of realtor with Accent Realty, Shante, Catherine, and Taronda, and other realtors in that team who are coming together to bring that information, and I'm the guest speaker. So we will be sharing the link for you to attend next Tuesday live, a live conversation. Okay. All right, so let's go into topic number 2. There's a lot of talk about affordability, say the word correctly, affordability right now. But I've already mentioned, if you already own, that's usually not the real question. When we hear housing affordability, we think about first-time buyers and down payments. And that's important, but homeowners with equity are in a different position. The real question is liquidity. How do I access what I have built without overcoming or locking myself into something that doesn't fit my life? For some people, that starts with a HELOC, not to spend it, but to create access and flexibility. For others, it's about understanding how equity could support a move-up purchase without draining cash or selling too early. Recent time, I've done some that are a combination of paying off some debts and purchasing with a larger down payment to bring the payments that the buyer has very comfortably to compared to if they were to have a first-time buyer with mortgage insurance and all the other costs that come when you are putting a lesser down payment. So liquidity isn't about doing something right now. It's about having options and knowing that they are there for you and how you can tap into them. So if liquidity is a question you've been holding, let's sit together and talk through what access could look like for you. I'm actually going to change my background. Let's just go with the regular. Let's try this. Now, the headlines change all the time, right? Structure is what actually helps people move. Every few months, there's a new proposal, a policy idea in the news. And while that can shape the market, most homeowners don't move because of policy. They move because their structure makes sense. That structure looks different depending on your goal. You could be going for family transition, where family pass away, family expense, those are the realities of life, newborn, or a family member needs to move in so you can have multi-generational in the household. So those are depending on your goals. Transitions are very often creating the desire and the need to get a bigger house or even downsize. If the person is getting older, then it's like getting ready for a one-story property. So policies, yes, they have an impact. However, it's what makes sense for you. So that's why I want you to tune in is, what are my goals? I have access to this equity. What can I do? And for others, it's not about a family transition. It's about, again, the income producing properties. I want to go ahead and reinforce that you can do programs right now where even if you don't necessarily qualify with your debt to income ratio on paper, or you know that the property you're going to be renting is going to have a cash flow because that's your goal, then there's a program that's called a DSCR, and we look at your credit, we look at how much money you have, we can lose a line of credits to go ahead and access and put as a down payment. Yes, it is a higher down payment than when you were a first-time buyer. You're looking at about they're actually 15% down payment when it comes to a DSCR. Now, the less you're putting down, the higher the cost could be, depending on your credit score as well. So all of those are what we will discuss together. But DSCR, what it helps is I don't have to look at your W, your 1099, your tax returns. Your income doesn't come into equation. It's the property cash flow that comes into the equation. And that's where it helps you move forward quicker than let me pay off some debt. So let me do this, let me do that. We're looking at the property cash flow, and the greatest part of it that a lot of people enjoy is that it's a business transaction. So you can close in an LLC. So tap into the foreclosure numbers are starting to come up too. So tap into what you are able to do with your equity without touching that mortgage rate that many people are holding on, saying is in the 3% to 4%. And now rates are in the 5, 6, more in the sixes. So more people are actually, about 21% of people are actually in the sixes in the US. So we are in that market. We are in a very similar market of what people, as far as the interest rate that people already have. So we're not having that big gap anymore as we used to. So you want to go ahead and have conversations. How can we move forward? Not just into your next home to move in, that's one conversation, but how can I invest into other real estate to increase my portfolio? There are different ways to structure it. And one thing that I will also say is, with that interest rate that you have so low on your primary residence right now, it's the perfect investment property to keep because the cash flow is going to be great. And then you move into the next home. The rate may be a little bit higher, but when the market changes, you can refinance that one. That is your primary residence. But the money, the cash flow you're receiving from your current property that's going to be a rental, you can now offset it with the monthly payment of the new property. So all of those are structure that you and I will talk about. We come on a Zoom call. We'll go ahead and chat about your goals, and then we make a plan that fits your goal. So again, if you don't understand what structure fits your situation, that's where might come into play. Let's sit down and let's map it out. Okay, so those are going to be the topics for today. And because it's really about tapping into equity, we really want to reinforce that there are conversations, and realtors and partners like myself are coming together to bring that information to depth with you. So go ahead and register for our call next Tuesday. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern. And you can join whether you are in Florida or Georgia, and actually in any part of the country, because I can definitely help you partner up with with my company. With Next Up, I have other lenders that I can go ahead and partners, sorry, the right word, loan officers, licensed in other states that can help you. So one-stop shop, and then we can help you no matter where you are. So looking forward to seeing you on that Tuesday webinar that we have. And this is going to conclude this update on Thursday Coffee Talk with Kristel. And I actually would love to know what you would like to hear about, what you would like for me to share. Okay. And it could be, how do I do more of the investments? It could be, I'm in transition. So what are the topics you would like to hear? So this is the section that the headlines I'm complete with, a little sip of coffee. And I want to say with gratitude, thank you for giving me grace as I keep practicing this, being live, being connected with you through this platform and improving. And it's through community and through support that we definitely continue to grow. So thank you. Now, this is the section that we go in a little bit more on the Kristel mystical section, where I admit that I have already meditated on this or had the guidance that for today, it's going to be a little bit different. And we're going to first start by regrounding ourselves, letting all this conversation put aside, and place your feet on the ground, planted if you can. And I recognize that for me, it can be a little bit easier because I have the practice of feeling the movement of energy inside of me. But don't attach to that. Don't stay like, I don't feel it. It's really, how do you feel after? So I want you to take a moment. How do you feel right now? Are you agitated? Are you anxious of what's coming next? Are you have thoughts or worries about something that's on your mind? And then we're going to assess at the end, how do you feel? So even if during the moment of the calmness, you didn't necessarily feel something moving through your body, or you didn't hear a voice besides your own that's like running in conversation, internal conversation, how do you feel afterwards? And that's how you know that you shifted your energy. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take a couple of deep breaths in. And center into our heart. And I'm hearing, was it the heart, the organ? Is it the heart, like the heart space? So you want to really be into that heart space, that area, that upper part, because that's the connecting part of the body, the part and the higher realm, which is more of connection with infinite intelligence, with source, with divinity, and that connection. Can you almost imagine a figure eight that goes from top of your head, comes to the middle by your heart space, and then turn and does that, and you become that infinite, right? That infinite spiritual being of having this human experience. Very much a phrase that you may have heard often. And today I got the guidance that I get to hold space. And what does that mean? Is we can have conversations which can be triggering, and we have practiced more and more pause. Don't just react right away. She said this and he said that, right? Pause. In that pause, it's allowing space between the conversation of what's being said, what's being thrown at, was instead it's like giving space. And the more space you give to it, it gets uncomfortable if you're not used to it. But practice it. That's my invitation for you this week. Practice giving space. Even if it's not being something that you're triggered by, but even just the fact that there's a conversation, practice. The person said that. Was I present to what they said? Was I ready to answer what they had to say, what they said, because I have an opinion? So holding space by pausing. I'm concerned about something. Pause before taking an action. I got to fix this. I'm speaking with someone. Pause. And the reason I say that is because in giving space and pause, it allows divinity, it allows source. Mostly when we're coming from that intention, this channel is definitely about giving sacred home with Kristel, so it's sacredness. To give a new thought, not based on what we program to how we view certain things, but in the present. Remember when we say the present is right now, the gift is now? That's how that pause gives the gift of a new relationship, an infinite, right? Remember, I started with the infinite number. over our body. So an infinite exchange. I'm not going to say it's easy. The process itself is easy, but us as a human, the emotions sometimes get tangled into it. So we want to go ahead and practice, give yourself grace. And the other space is sometimes it's not in conversation, it's holding space for someone who's going through something and just being there. I was with a family member this week, and we usually stay for a moment, have a quick conversation or chat, and then when there is nothing else to say, I will leave. And I found myself uncomfortable by just like there's silence or what is there for me. And in the reflection, I realized I actually sat a bit longer without needing to share something, just to hold space, being there. And there was definitely an opening in my heart for that, of holding space for the person. So I'm holding space for all that we're all going through in our personal life. I'm also holding space for what our countries are going through and sending prayers. And because I don't know specifically what's the highest and greatest for all, I surrender it and stating, all of the ones in power with all that they're doing, may you guide them. Not so much from their ego and their power struggles that they're having, but what's truly for the greatest of humanity to move forward. For many, including myself and Path, it can be a challenge to see all that we're seeing in the news or hearing, which has a direct impact on how kids behave towards each other. I was just seeing the headlines, how kids are treating or finding permission to treat each other a certain way, worse than before. And it is a process as I see all of those things to not be angry at it, because anger is not necessarily for me. I'm not going to shift the energy because it's the resistance of things. It's like, wow, all of this is on the surface. I am holding space. I am surrendering the situation to infinite intelligence so that things come. And the people who have the ability and the power, I'm not saying no action, but the people who have the ability and the ways to actually act on our behalf. Mine is more of the holding space. Somebody else might be more of the activist, and showing up a certain way. So I feel like we are facing so many aspects of ourselves based on the micro and the macro, government and the bigger picture in our household. But the ones that we can really work is that the bigger picture is a reflection of how we may be also feeling at home. And this the one that we get to each individually can actually work on and have action is holding space for the greatest and best, but also in our household, how do we shift this energy? Because if we keep looking just on the outside, then we're not even focusing on what's happening in our home. Not just a physical home with our family members, but in our home, how we feel, how we're responding, how we're reacting. And all of those mirrors are an opportunity to tap into, how do I feel about this? How do I show up in response to this? All of it is a gift, even the hard one, even the painful one. Now, I'm not saying invoke and ask for more pain, but see it as an opportunity. Pause, and give grace. Breath. Breath is the beginning of life and is the end of life. Give breath to it. So I'm going to hold space right now. Feel free to stay on in holding space with me for yourself or for whatever comes up. And I will log off once I feel complete. No words, just breath, silence, and hold the space for peace, for bliss, for joy. And all the emotions that are actually feeling more painful, may they be transmuted to the light. May they be healed. Thank you for listening. And again, I will log off once complete. It could be in 30 seconds, 1 minute, whenever I feel guided. From this point forward, I will be silent.